All right, so let's talk about Matt Ryan for a second. He's an interesting player, right? Because obviously we all know Matt Ryan, he's won an MVP. We know what he's capable of when things are going well. But when you get to your mid-30s and you have a down season or two, it becomes less of a question of, what can you do and more of a question of can you still do it, right? We saw this with Aaron Rodgers last year where the Packers kind of said, we don't know if you still got it. We're going to draft a quarterback, and then clearly he still got it. But which side of the coin is Matt Ryan on? Because again, you could go to Drew Brees, and we all kind of said, maybe he still has it, and then he, towards the end of the season, at least did not. Now, again, both Rodgers and Brees are older than Ryan, but still, the point still stands. So I wanted to look at some numbers to talk about this, and what's interesting about the biggest number that I found interesting with Matt Ryan would be how he threw further down the field. I guess one other number you could bring up is that when he was kept clean, he had a passer rating of over 100, so that can give you some confidence. It was 103, so maybe you hope that, just keep him clean more often and things could work. But let's talk about that passer rating depending on how deep down the field it was. So here's what it was. So you look at how he threw deep, medium, short, and behind the line of scrimmage, and these are just in 10-yard increments. So, short is 0 to 10, medium 11 to 20, and deep is 20 plus. So the way it works, clearly he was good at the medium and short stuff, very good at that stuff. Deep, not so much. Behind the line of scrimmage, fine. Your passer rating isn't going to be that high there anyways, but deep, under 80 is bad. That's just not good. So what happened? And it was weird because, I think the general thought is, well, has his arm deteriorated? And I think you can maybe argue a little bit, but you know what? He's never been he's never had a cannon of an arm. He's never been Brett Favre. Typically what made him so good was just how accurate he was, and still is, by the way. I'm not saying this in past tense, in present tense. So, watch, right here, what's going to happen is that it's going to be, zone coverage, and you have a receiver who's running a deeper route. This isn't going to be super deep, but it will end up being 20-plus yards. And right when this play starts, so it is going to be open. Watch the speed of the throw. It's pretty fast, and, you see now, okay, there is an opening right here, and watch how accurate it is. It is just right on the money. Julio was able to make the grab right there. Good catch, and, that's what he does. But it was a perfect throw. It's exactly where Matt Ryan wanted to put that football. And, again, this is kind of what he's done his entire career, so it doesn't appear to me like he's worse at it now than he has been in the past. There's something like this, which is interesting. This is something that, you could argue, okay, how much of taking a sack is the quarterback's fault? How much of it is the offense's fault? Whether that's offensive line, coaching, receivers, whatever. Obviously, there's many reasons why, but one of those reasons is quarterback, and I find it interesting, and actually I wonder how much of it is the system to some degree. And the sacks per game wasn't necessarily terrible. They gave up 2.6 sacks per game. That was 22nd in the NFL, with first being the best. But, still not great either, near bottom 10. So let's talk about what exactly happened. I think this is a good play of not just why there were sacks, but maybe why there were some, worse decisions we saw out of Ryan than we saw certainly when Kyle Shanahan was there. The route Ryan really wants to throw to here is going to be Julio Jones, who's to his left, which is towards the bottom of the screen. This route makes the most sense because, A, Jones is lined up with a linebacker, so he should be open at a certain point. The only way it really won't be open is if a safety makes a good read and comes in and can make a play on it. So that is the thing to watch out for. But for Ryan, it makes sense to look here in this direction. You get Julio on a linebacker. You want to at least check that out. And right when this play starts, he looks there, but it appears as though the safety actually does kind of come in because the linebacker is kind of getting in Julio's way underneath. I'm assuming the safety made a good break on it because Ryan is going to now look over to 81 for Atlanta there because he's open. So sure, makes sense. Go to your next read, and this probably could work out. However, at that point, he eventually gets hit and is going to go down with a sack. So again, these are the kind of things where the offense was a bit clunky at times. And it felt a bit like, okay, we're having 5 receivers run and, you pick the guy you think is going to get open and try to throw it that way. Well, sometimes you got to make things easier on your just team in general, and that didn't happen too much. Although I also have to mention, like a play like this, there just absolutely were some plays that were just inexcusable errors from Ryan and just uncharacteristic errors from Ryan. Not to say that, I mean, listen, he's always been someone who will make the occasional bad decision, but I felt like it was a little bit amped up last year, and especially, this game where the Chargers game, at the end, he just completely imploded, quite frankly. So this play, it's zone coverage. There's a little route underneath. You can make this throw if you want to set the stage. They're in field goal range. It's a tie game. Just pick up some yards. Hopefully you can kill the clock, kick the game-winning field goal, but at least move the ball down the field on a 2nd down and 17, maybe create an achievable 3rd down. Pre-snap, this makes total sense to make this throw. However, right when this ball is snapped, so, if Ryan was making this throw like as of right now, if it was already coming out of his hands, that's one thing. But there's a defensive player just off screen crashing in, and Ryan has to be able to read that and probably get off to a second read, maybe the guy underneath. Even if you don't gain yards here, that's not the end of the world. Instead, this one is going to end up just being intercepted. And not to be outdone, later on in the game, he would make this poor decision, which was they're now just outside field goal range, 36 seconds left. Again, get a 1st down, kill the clock, kick a field goal, win the game. That's what can happen. It's man coverage. You see the route that he could throw to. It's a route that, again, I just don't love this decision. It's away from him, so you're basically going to have a much more difficult angle than if it was something over the middle of the field. And if a defensive back makes a good break on it, he could intercept it. And I mean, watch. He basically just throws it up there without even thinking about it, and this is just not a throw he should make, quite frankly. It's just too risky here, I think. It's not a good decision, and it's not worth it, especially given the situation. And as you see, it's predictably intercepted. Again, Ryan's not like making these mistakes 5 times a game or anything like that, but there was more this year, it felt like, than last year. Actually, I probably shouldn't say than last year because he actually had more interceptions last year. But, in his 2 best seasons, he had just 7 interceptions, but the last 2 years, he had a combined total of 25 interceptions, 11 last year, 14 the year before. He's always kind of been usually a double-digit interceptions guy, but he did have those 2 seasons of 7 picks, and he has kind of reverted back to being a double-digit interception guy since then. So yeah, just to reiterate, there's a lot to like about Matt Ryan, and my main goal was, so what went wrong last year for, not just him, but the entire Atlanta Falcons, or did something go wrong? In my opinion, this was a down year for him. But I think that it's because of the things I mentioned. I think the offense was much more difficult on him, which is kind of why that deeper stuff wasn't there, because it helps to get something deeper open if you can get that middle of the stuff open and you actually are running these zone busters and stuff instead of just sort of running your thing and hoping it gets open. So that's probably number 1, I would say. And number 2, he's got to clean up a couple of the bad decisions he made. And again, he's always someone who will take some chances. He's not full gunslinger Jameis Winston, but he'll take some chances. So, yeah, that's what I feel about Matt Ryan. Let me know, what do you guys think about Ryan? Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.